The time has come for one of my most daunting videos that I make in a year. It's time to rank every single book that I read in 2025. We have 5 categories. From the bottom, we have Burn It With Fire. These are the books that I despised the absolute most in this year, and I would never recommend anybody to read these ever. Then we have What Even Was This Book? Now this can go either way, meaning I don't remember what the book was, or the books literally didn't make any sense. It was okay. That simply is what it was. It was fine. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I had a great time. These are probably gonna be more of my 4-star reads. And then the top tier is Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. I loved it so much. I read 103 books last year. Let's get into them. Whenever I upload the photos into this, they always upload in a random order, not in the order in which I read them. Absolutely Not in Love by Jenny Proctor. We're gonna put this in 10 out of 10 would recommend. And we're gonna do that along with A Groom of One's Own by Emma St. Clair. These are 2 books in the Appy series. That is one of my favorite series of all time, okay? The books are just so cutesy. I love them. I would tell anybody who will listen to me that they should read the Appy series. But I have to say, I think A Groom of One's Own is my favorite in the whole series. Archer's Voice. What even was this book? I kind of remember what it was. I read it in my reading BookTok videos for 24 hours. And I didn't like it. Because what do you mean the whole town doesn't like this boy? This grown man? Because he's deaf? Or he's mute? I can't remember. They're just haters. Kiss and Tell. We're gonna put in It Was Okay. This is in the Creekville Kisses series by Melanie Jacobson. I really enjoyed reading them, but they weren't like anything super special. Article 5. We're gonna put that... It Was Okay. It was a very, very dark book. I do plan on continuing the series if I can get them digitally. This was a book that had been on my TBR for so long. I am just simply glad it's no longer there anymore. After by Anna Todd. Burn It With Fire. No. It's 560 pages of pure and utter nonsense. The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis. 10 out of 10 would recommend. This made me want to read so many more of Fiona Davis's books. I already had some of her books on my TBR. This was a historical fiction that I thoroughly enjoyed reading. The Ministry of Time by Kellyanne Bradley. What even was this book? This book, I've said it so many times, slapped me in the face and called me stupid. Okay, there were so many words used in this book that I, as an average IQ person, do not understand. And also, the like plot twist at the end, like how everything was explained, I'm like, are you okay? Faking the Fall by Julie Christensen. We're gonna do It Was Okay. It was a cute little fake dating fall themed romance. A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 3.5 in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And so in the grand scheme of the series, it is considered a novella. That being said, it still had a plot and it continued to move through the story. And I actually enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. Scrooge and the Girls Next Door. We're gonna put that in What Even Was This Book simply because the male main character drove me up the wall the entire time. He just made me so mad because he was being ridiculous the entire book for no reason. Kiss Me Now by Melanie Jacobson. This is also in the Creekville Kisses series along with Scrooge and the Girls Next Door, and we're gonna put it in What Even Was This Book because once again, the male main character, I'm sorry, hello? You can't just do that to somebody. But then also, I'm looking at the female main character for like forgiving him for the egregiously terrible thing that he did. Kiss the Girl by Melanie Jacobson. I 10 out of 10 would recommend that one. That one was my favorite in the whole series because the male main character, I loved him. He was a great guy. No notes for him. The Westing Game, 10 out of 10 would recommend. This is one of my favorite books from when I was little. Definitely started my love for stories like Knives Out and The Inheritance Games. Heist Society by Allie Carter, another one of my favorite childhood books. I love it. I really want to continue the series. It's just such a fun time. Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. We're gonna give it It Was Okay. The plot twist at the end, I'm like, okay then, like, I feel like that would cause many more problems than what was addressed in the book. The 12 Holidates by Emma St. Clair. It's a little Christmassy novella. We're gonna put it in It Was Okay because it simply was okay. I mean, the girl plans these like 12 Christmassy dates that she wants to do with her boyfriend, who she then catches cheating on her. So her guy best friend from her entire life decides that the best way for her to move forward is for the two of them to complete the dates, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, I'm not really sure how that would be like healing for somebody. Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Annie is my favorite book character that I read this whole year. I love her. I relate to her so much. She is just a sweetie pie and I just want to wrap her in bubble wrap. Happily Ever After by Kira Cass. It was okay. This is a series of novellas connected to the Selection series, and one of the novellas in this collection was very questionable to me. I don't know if maybe it had something to do with the time in which it was written, that it didn't like strike as many people as being weird, but for me it just made me uncomfortable. I just didn't like it. The Golden Goal by Anna Conwell. You know what? We're gonna put that in Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. This might be my favorite romance I read all year. The guy is just absolutely head over heels in love with this girl the entire time, and it was just me like laying in bed reading it, giggling and kicking my feet and just having such a grand old time. Fearful by Lauren Roberts. What even was this book? This book did not need to exist. I'll say it again anytime somebody asks me about this. This book did not need to exist. You had me in the first 80%. The last 20%, I'm like, sorry, who wrote this part of the book? Because these characters are not the same characters that I began the book with. They don't make any sense. I don't really see the logical character progression, and I feel like I missed a huge chunk of the book that would explain how the characters got from point A to point Z. The Double Play by Anna Conwell. Will say it was okay. This is the fourth book in the More Than a Game series, which is the same series as The Golden Goal. This one, I enjoyed it, but I just feel like there wasn't as much of a connection between the two characters as there have been in the other books in this series by Anna Conwell. The Boxcar Children. 10 out of 10 would recommend, but only this one. Even though The Boxcar Children has a ton of books in that series, I have only ever read this one, but I love it. I used to make my brothers play Boxcar Children with me when I was little, because I don't know what it is with that like child instinct to pretend that your parents are dead and you're an orphan and you have to fend for yourself. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I reread this book this year. We're gonna put it in 10 out of 10 would recommend because I decided it doesn't hold up as a 5 stars for me. However, I still really love this book. I would recommend it to anybody who's like looking to get into reading. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. We're gonna put that in 10 out of 10 would recommend. I do really enjoy the dynamic between the two characters. However, I did have very high expectations for this book because it is a companion series to the Carrolli trilogy, which is a 5-star series for me. So it just didn't quite live up to the expectations I had for it, but I do see that the series could have the potential to be a 5-star series for me. The Elite and The One, we're gonna put those in 10 out of 10 would recommend. Are these books incredibly cringy? Yeah, but I have such a good time reading them. I have been waiting for the opportunity to make a reading vlog rereading the Selection series. And guess what? I had an absolute blast doing so. Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. We're putting that in It Was Okay. I'm so sorry, but it's the truth. I feel like I didn't enjoy the book enough to, in my mind, explain the hype that this book got, so much so that it became an amazing movie. Just Last Night by Mahari McFarlane. We're gonna put that in 10 out of 10 recommend. This is the only Mahari McFarlane book that I've read so far, but I do want to read more books. I kind of forgot I read that this year. Accomplice to the Villain. I did not rate this a 5 stars, but we're gonna put it in Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. I love the Assistant to the Villain series. They are just so funny, such a good time, but also are increasing in depth as the series moves along, which I'm finding that to be so interesting the way that Hannah Nicole Mayer is writing that. Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. We're gonna put that in 10 out of 10 would recommend. It is a very interesting concept for a thriller novel. Basically, the female main character, she gets hit over the back of the head on Halloween and wakes up a couple days later in the hospital where they're like, you're gonna die in 7 days. So she spends her last week alive trying to figure out who it was killed her. Such an interesting concept. Fourth wing. Screaming, crying, throwing up. Of course. Of course. This still holds up as 5 stars for me. I was sobbing, crying at that certain part in this book, you know, which, considering the fact that I know that that part happens, and this was my 3rd time reading this book, I can't believe that it still made me feel that way. First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. We're gonna put that in. It was okay. This book, it's marketed as a thriller, but to me, it kind of felt more like a spy adventure book. It just didn't really have me like on the edge of my seat the way that I want thrillers to do. The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. Screaming, crying, throwing up. Loved it. 10 out of 10 would recommend. This book is so cute. One of my favorite romance novels I've ever read in my entire life. I love it so much. Everyone should read it. Majesty by Catherine McGee and Rivals by Catherine McGee. Those are books 2 and 3 in the American Royal series. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I did not have any expectations for this book series when I started it this year, and I absolutely loved it, ate it up. Like, once I started these books, like, there was nothing you could do to keep me from reading these books any second I could get. After We Collided by Anna Todd. Burn It With Fire. Burn It With Fire. Another 600 pages of the most unnecessary conflict in the history of ever. Hate it. The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. This is like the only nonfiction book I read this year. We're gonna put it in 10 out of 10 would recommend, actually. The concept is very interesting, and I feel like it's not a stereotypical self-help tip. Pearl of Magic by Emily Deedy. What even was this book? Because I genuinely don't remember what happened in this book. All I remember is that it is a Little Mermaid retelling. Other than that, I really don't remember what happened in that book. The Selection. 10 out of 10 would recommend. For all the same reasons I said about The Elite and The One. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. 10 out of 10 would recommend. There's no notes for that book. I really enjoyed that. Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Usually, authors don't write sequels to their romance novels. However, this one, I really liked that it explored the concept of like what happens after Happily Ever After. Like, have you ever stopped to think about your favorite romance novels and wonder if the couple would last past the end of the book? Like, that's what this is talking about. And so I really enjoyed reading that. The Vanishing Stair by Maureen Johnson. I remember enjoying this book, but I don't remember what happens in it. Restore Me by Tahira Mafi. What even was that book? I don't know. We're gonna put Shadow Me and It Was Okay, but then Defy Me also in what even was that book. I started the Shadow Me series in 2025, and when reading most of the books, I find myself like flipping through the book, wondering where the missing chapters went, because there are so many things that happen in that book that to me don't make a logical sense. There's not really a logical progression through the book, and no evidence that the characters have thought about the decisions that they're making. And they do these things, and I look at them and I have to stop and I ask and I just wonder, like, who let them do that? Like, who heard them say they were gonna do that and thought that's a really great idea? Because I wouldn't say that. I definitely would not say that that's a good idea. And all of the books kind of blend together, so if you held a gun to my head, I genuinely could not tell you what happened in Restore Me or Defy Me. As You Ice It by Emma St. Clair. We're gonna put that one in 10 out of 10 would recommend, because once again, it's from the Appy series. Love it, love it. The Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan, and what's that one? The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan from the Percy Jackson series. I thoroughly enjoyed reading those books, and I can see why those books are popular now. The Queen of Nothing, Burn It With Fire. This is the final book in the Folk of the Air trilogy, the Cruel Prince series. That whole series, I did not like it. Why was it sold to me as a romantasy when the entire trilogy, there is no evidence that the characters even like each other, much less fall in love. The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan, 10 out of 10 would recommend. When Alec Met Evie, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Again, the Appy series. It's all the explanation it needs. The Inheritance Games, Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. I love this book, top tier. I would sacrifice my firstborn child to forget this book and reread it again for the first time. Spiral by Bal Cabra. What even was this book? Genuinely don't remember anything about this book. And here we also have Fracture Me by Tahara Mafi from the Shatter Me series. Now Ignite Me, I remember this being my favorite in the series so far. So we put that in It Was Okay. The Battle of the Labyrinth, we're putting that in 10 out of 10 would recommend. An Ember in the Ashes. Yeah. Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. One of my new favorite series. I love that book. This is the first book in the series and I gave it 5 stars. Usually that does not happen in a fantasy series. 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. This is another interesting concept. Holly Jackson just does a really great job with coming up with such unique plots for her books. This one was about a group of 6 kids who go on a road trip for spring break, but their RV breaks down in the middle of nowhere. They can't get any service. There's no one around, and they're being hunted by a sniper because someone is keeping a secret. American Royals, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I was on a trip with my family and this book was keeping me up at night because I wanted to just keep reading. It was addicting. Princess in Waiting by Meg Cabot. What even was this book? I love to read the Princess Diaries books when I want to have a good laugh. However, this one did not hardly make me laugh at all. I really didn't enjoy reading this and I was so disappointed with it. Promise Me Not by Megan Brandy. What even was this book? I loved Say You Swear. The first book in the Boys of Avix series. This one, can't tell you anything that happened. Destroy Me and Unravel Me. Once again, what even was this book? I don't remember. The Housemaid's Wedding. What even was this book? I genuinely don't remember what happened in this book once again. The Housemaid is Watching. We're gonna put that in what even was this book. Honestly, this series really didn't need to be a trilogy. It probably could have just been a duology. And then the person who committed the crimes in this book, it's revealed and I'm like, really? Like, does that logically make sense in your brain? Because it doesn't in mine. Runaway Bride and Prejudice, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Great Big Beautiful Life. We're gonna put that in 10 out of 10 would recommend. I could have read so much more of this book. It's told in dual timelines, kind of. You're following the story of these 2 authors who are competing to write the memoir of this woman who was a part of a family that was like very elusive but had tons of scandals happening. And I could have read so much about that woman's family. Like a whole nother book about them would have been amazing. The Great Gatsby. I'm not great with classics. We're putting it in what even was that book because I genuinely don't understand it. The Dead Romantics and A Novel Love Story, we're putting those in It Was Okay. Those were not my favorite books by Ashley Boston. However, they are cutesy romances and I love the elements of magical realism that she puts in her books. 7 Year Slip, we're putting that in Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. I got a poster of it for my wall. That's how you can tell I really loved something. A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. And also Sunrise on the Reaping. We're putting those in Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. Love both of those books so much. They're both books that if I could give up my firstborn to reread the book for the first time, I would do it. Fearless by Lauren Roberts. We're gonna say It Was Okay. I thought this was gonna be the last book in the series, but it's not. But that's besides the point. The point is that the first book in the series, Powerless, is a 5-star read. Love that book. And the other 2 books just fall so flat, which is unfortunate. Princess in Pink by Meg Cabot. 10 out of 10 would recommend. This one redeemed the Princess Diaries series for me. I was so happy to read this book and genuinely be laughing to myself, because that is the vibe that I desire from this series. So I was so glad that that book made me feel that way again. Shatter Me by Tara Mafi. What even was this book? What even was it? The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and The Hunger Games. Yeah, we're putting those in Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. Love those books so much. Love them. Love them. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I think we're gonna put it in 10 out of 10 would recommend. I do enjoy the movie because I love Daisy Edgar Jones. Okay, she's one of my favorite actresses. I don't know why. Love her. And I definitely enjoyed this book more than I thought I was going to, because I had previously tried to listen to the audiobook and the narrator just drove me up the wall that I was like, I hate this book. However, reading it, a much better experience. Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. Duh, obviously. It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. We're gonna put that in 10 out of 10 would recommend. I binge read all of Annabelle Monaghan's books in like a week. This one was just a fun time, but also, you know, makes you think about things in your own life, and just overall a lovely book to read. The Perfect Putt and The Run option. We're gonna put The Perfect Putt in It Was Okay, and we're gonna put The Run option in 10 out of 10 would recommend. Those are books 2 and 3 in the More Than a Game series by Anna Conwell. The Perfect Putt is obviously a golf romance, which I had never heard of before and never read before. I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I was going to. And then The Run option actually was a really cute book. Marriage of Convenience. Kind of loving those now. One Last Play by Anna Conwell. I loved this book. We're putting it in 10 out of 10 would recommend. The guy is just head over heels for the girl, and he is going after her with everything he has in him, and that, I'm such a sucker for those kind of stories. Romancing the Grump by Jenny Proctor. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, the 2 Harry Potter books I read this year. We're gonna put those in, if I can get up there. Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. I love the Harry Potter series. Nora Goes Off Script. Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. This is my favorite Annabelle Monaghan book. I love it so much. I need to do a reread this year. Renegades. 10 out of 10 would recommend. This is a superhero book. I love superheroes. And I had not read a book with superheroes in it before. Same Time Next Summer and Summer Romance. We're putting those in 10 out of 10 would recommend. Just would recommend Annabelle Monaghan. Overall, love her. An auto read author for me. 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. Burn It With Fire. The dialogue in this book is just so uncomfortable and so weird to me. No thank you. The Silent Patient. What even was this book? I genuinely don't remember reading it. I know when I read it, but I don't remember what happens in it. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. 10 out of 10 would recommend. You know, despite the fact that I feel like not a whole lot happens in this book, I was intrigued. I binge read like 60% of it all at once. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Burn It With Fire because I hate it. That book is the one I hated the most this year. Hate it. Reckless. What even was this book? Because it was 360 pages of the same scene over and over again, just in a different setting. Divergent by Veronica Roth. 10 out of 10 would recommend. No explanation needed for that book. The Island by Natasha Preston. What even was this book? This book was literally about TikTok influencers, which, as someone who despises hearing any mentions of social media in books, I should have read the back of the book to see that it's literally about TikTok influencers. Rebecca. What even was that book? It took me so long to read that book, and then at the end I just didn't even understand what happened. Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Screaming, Crying, Throwing Up. Like, yes please. So like Katniss was in the 74th Hunger Games. If Suzanne Collins wrote a book for each Hunger Games, I would read it. I would read every single one of them. I'd be there first in line, midnight release, give me that book. Percy Jackson, The Lightning Thief, definitely would 10 out of 10 recommend, because of course. And then finally, the last book is Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles series, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend that book. I really enjoyed this book. You know, even though it's like a sci-fi fantasy kind of book, the romance in this had me giggling and kicking my feet because I just loved them so much. Those are all of the books that I read in 2025, tier ranked. I did decrease my reading goal for 2026 to 90 books simply because I do just want to be a little bit more intentional with the books that I'm picking books that I genuinely think I will enjoy, not because I think that they will make good reading vlogs. I'm excited to see what my 2026 wrap up will look like. That is all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoy this type of content. Comment down below your favorite book that you read in the entirety of 2025, and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content in the future. I hope you have a lovely rest of your week, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!